Hello, and welcome to today's episode. I'm going to be your host, the Irrelevant Nerd. Today, we're going to be reviewing the Fantastic Four that was released in 2005. Now, with the Fantastic Four First Steps coming out in July, I thought it would be fun to go back and review all of the theatrically released Fantastic Four movies that we've had so far. And I'm going to do the same thing with the Superman ones as well. I just decided, and I am aware that that one comes out first. I just decided to do Fantastic Four first because they're admittedly a little bit more on my wavelength. I love Superman, don't get me wrong. I've just always enjoyed the Fantastic Four a little bit more. So let's go ahead, get started. I just watched the movie a little bit earlier today, and let's start with something good. It has an intensely likable cast. Obviously, Chris Evans is the standout as the Human Torch. He absolutely nails it. I think he's just as good of a Johnny Storm as he is of Captain America. I think he fits the character wonderfully, and I do like the characterization they have for him, very true to the comics, I felt like. And then of the main four, I do think that Jessica Alba is the weakest, but I do think that a lot of that just has to do with the fact that her character is probably written the weakest and the cringiest for sure. I think she's a fine actress for like the types of roles that she's played, but I just think that this is the one that kind of misses the most. I don't think she's terrible, and definitely not as terrible as a lot of people on the internet have said. Like there's obviously some things with like the hair dyeing and contacts and all that, which is definitely worse in the second one than it is in the first one. So I get it why people have a problem with it, but I don't think it's really like she's so bad that that's the reason the movie's, not the best. It's not. She does okay. Michael Chiklis I thought was great as the Thing, probably the second best after Chris Evans. Thought he did a great job. Really liked the characterization, and I loved what they did with his voice, and even the prosthetics, the look I don't hate. It's not the best, but I have seen worse, and I think it works for the movie that it's in. And then Mr. Fantastic, the actor, I'm not actually sure how to say his first name. I don't know if it's like Ian, or Garfield, however you say it. I think he does a good job kind of embodying the nerdy Reed Richards. Again, it's one of those things where the characterization, not necessarily the best, but that's not the actor's fault. I thought he did a fine job kind of embodying the character. And then Julian McMahon for Victor Von Doom, I actually don't dislike the choice. I think he would have been a fine actor. Dr. Doom's characterization is obviously the absolute worst thing about this movie. It's basically what tanks the entire thing, for me at least. We'll get there. We'll get to, we'll get to Dr. Doom a little bit later. Let me get through the story a little bit. So it's a very kind of straightforward intro in the way that the accident happens. They go up on the mission to space. I really dislike the fact that Doom is on this mission and that's how he also gets his powers. I am aware that that is the way that it happens in some of the runs in the comics, but I just don't prefer it that way. I never have, and I think it's a very lazy way to do it, especially the way that it's done in this movie. But the rest of it outside of that, it's very straightforward. It works. It's, relatively the basic story. And when they get back and they're kind of first showing their powers, it's fun. Like it's definitely cheesy for sure, and very much a product of its time. Like when I was watching it and it starts playing Newts by Sum 41 during the snowboarding scene, I was like, oh yeah, like I know exactly when this came out. But I don't dislike it. I mean, it's fun, but it is cheesy. And then it it gets to the first rescue after the thing goes off, tries to find his wife. And man, his wife is the fucking worst, dude. She's such a bitch. When she first sees him and she panics and runs off after he first gets back, she is like no concern, doesn't ask what happened. Like, I don't know, just I hate her. And then when she shows up later after the whole bridge thing ultimately goes down and she takes off the ring, like what a fucking bitch. Like, she is the worst. And but anyways, so he goes off and he's sitting on the edge of the bridge, and this guy, crawls up there presumably to, end his life. And the thing doesn't so much as save him like intentionally. He ends up like kind of startling the guy back, and guy falls onto the bridge, thing goes down onto the bridge, vehicles start going awry, and it turns into this whole big emergency that the whole crew kind of has to step in and help with. And there's this shot that makes me laugh in it every time of, Human Torch. Johnny is, he's in non-torch form, and he runs and he jumps over this car, and just the shot of him kind of jumping, I'm like, that's a very cheesy action movie thing to do. Makes me laugh every time. Don't know why. But they get to the end and they get introduced by the news, and everyone's cheering them like, oh my God, they're heroes. And they are. They did definitely help those people. But I've always been very frustrated by this being the initial showing of all four of them using their powers to the public, because it works. They come across as heroes, but they've basically created the entire issue. They did end up saving that guy from potentially ending his life, but the way that it happened, they're the reason all the calamity happened. So yeah, they did stop it, but they did kind of cause it a little bit. So I always kind of thought it was a silly scene, especially for their introduction. And then the way that it ends with the news networks picking their names, that's so stupid. It irritates me so much. It is very important where the name of the Fantastic Four comes from, and I am a little worried about Fantastic Four first steps, about how they're going to do the name. I hope that they do it some justice, but basically in the comics, Reed picks the Fantastic Four name and public persona kind of out of guilt to help the team feel more renormalized to society, and kind of brand them as hero and protect them from, people calling them freaks and having a public backlash towards them just being so different. And so that guilt is important to Reed's character. And so I just hope they do it justice in Fantastic Four First Steps, because this movie does it in such a terrible way. Like, they just breeze through it and they're like, oh, that's what they said in the news, like Johnny Storm loves it, that's what we're going with. And yeah, it's not the best way to do it. And so then you kind of see, as the Fantastic Four are working on their issues, and Reed's trying to figure out a way to, quote unquote, get them back to normal. And they have their cute little situations and little family things around the Baxter building, and like the whipped cream on the thing's hand, and bonding, cute things like that. Behind that, you have Doctor Doom becoming more and more unhinged, and the way this is not Doctor Doom, but for this movie, so Doctor Doom, his motivation is very Green Goblin Spider-Man 1. He's having issues with his giant company. The board turns against him, so he starts in turn wiping them out to maintain his power and his status. And it's very much just a product of that time, like the way they kind of did villains, but it's just so obviously Green Goblin from Spider-Man, just not done nearly as well at all. And his whole kind of everything in the movie, like his relationship with Sue in the beginning, is so fucking weird. I hate it. And throughout the movie, I kind of hate it. And like his reasoning for wanting her because, he could have anybody or whatever, and because she is Reed's ex, like I don't hate that reasoning. I just think it's done in such a weird and awkward, stiff way that characters have no chemistry at all. Like, you don't believe for 1 second that Reed would believe she's actually into him based off the way that she acts towards him. Like, she says nice things, but she is very cold towards him. So the whole thing comes across as super weird. And he's also, I don't know, he's not like an idiot in the movie by any means, but he is not presented with the level of intelligence that Doctor Doom should be, because he is an exceptionally smart character, like not quite as smart as Reed Richards, and that's kind of always been the dynamic, but he's not so far behind that he should just seem like a normal cunning business dude, which is how he is in this movie. And I'm not even against the business dude motif way of doing it, just the way that it is done in this movie is not great. Like, he seems like a very inept businessman, because he's doing nothing but losing his company the whole movie, and they don't even explain how it got there. Anyways, Doctor Doom is just so, and everything that he does, like when he's discovering his powers, from killing his doctors to the board members, it's very anticlimactic, non-exciting, and just a frustrating representation of his powers. And then his whole plot to try to subtly turn Ben against the rest of the team, I don't know, it's kind of a cliche in team infighting thing to do, and then his plan seems odd to me, because I don't actually seem to understand how his powers work. Like, as the machine is going, he gets more powerful, but is that, like, in essence he is stealing Ben's power, like not becoming the Thing, but just like stealing his cosmic rays or whatever? Because if that's not what's happening, and it's just from like the actual power surge of the machine, then he wouldn't need the Thing to get in the machine for him to do it, and he could do it multiple times. So I don't actually really understand what he's trying to do, other than to get Ben out of the way as the bodyguard, which I guess, I don't know, but it just seems odd. The whole way that it's done, it feels very kind of pointless, because the Thing becomes Ben again for 2 to 3 scenes, but not even like one scene, but like maybe 2 to 3 shots in the whole movie, until the next time you see him, he's coming back saving the day again as the Thing. So the whole thing just really kind of felt pointless and strange. And it also brings up an issue I have with the fact that Reed is not tirelessly working in the lab. And like, I understand that it's Sue kind of trying to draw him out a little bit, but I wish he would seem more dedicated to being in there and carrying that guilt, because that is also a part of his character. And like, he does start to work super hard after Ben yells at him, but I don't think he should have needed to. That's not really the character of Reed that I wish they would have done. Like, again, I don't think the acting is bad, I just think the characterization is bad. And then it really just kind of rushes into the final confrontation, and the entire thing is so, really, it's very rushed, and it's very boring. And again, I mean, I guess there are restrictions for it being, a movie that came out in 2005, but there were other hero movies around this time that I thought had much better action scenes in them. Like the very first one, when they're saving the bus of people, it's not really an action scene at all. And then, I mean, you have Johnny riding BMX bikes in an exciting scene, but it's not really like an action fighting scene. Like, there is a little bit of action between him and the Thing, but it's a very non-action based movie at all, which I can get behind. But the way this fight is done, with him kind of kidnapping Reed, freezing him, and then Sue tries to rescue him, and that's when the Thing ends up coming back in. It's very anticlimactic, because not really a whole lot happens. Some heavy objects are thrown. Doom and Thing end up jumping out the window, fall, throw a few punches, fall some more, land on the street. That's when the whole gang joins, and then it's almost instantly thrown into just the finishing move when Mr. Fantastic, like, wraps himself around the body, which I don't hate that move. I actually kind of like that. But then Johnny going supernova instantly, and then Sue trying to hold it back and getting the very internet-loved nosebleed. And then he comes out walking, and then boom, water, quippy lines, water, cools him down, he's defeated. The whole thing is over just like that. And then immediately the movie transitions into a scene with them on the boat, trying to give a little bit of resolution to where the characters are, and Reed ends up proposing to Sue, which is what you want to happen, and you know how it's supposed to be, but they didn't really spend a lot of time building up their relationship, besides the one scene where Ben got mad at them for being out and about around town. So very, I don't know, kind of very unsatisfying way to do it. But I mean, there are like some funny character moments in there, but it goes to that scene, and then boom, credits, or well, not quite credits. This is like the before the post-credit days. It's a pre-credit scene where it's implied that Doom is still, not defeated, because the electronics around him are kind of still bugging out, and then it goes to credits. It is a fun movie to watch. I will say that. Like, it's definitely C minus, but like on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 6.5 to 7.0, somewhere in that range. It's not fantastic, but it is fun, and it does have a lot of nostalgia when you watch it. And the way the internet is trying to hype this movie up is like, oh, this new cast will never be them. They've never been loved like that. Don't let people do that. That is not the memory of these movies at all. But have you seen the original well, I guess these aren't the original ones, because you did have the one that was not released to theaters from the 90s, but like the first major released one. If you've seen it, let me know what you think. Let me know how much you hate it, how much you love it. Has the movie gotten better for you over time, worse for you over time? Is it more just something that you watched recently after you'd seen all these other amazing hero movies? Kind of let me know the context of where this movie fits in your life, and I'll see you guys in the next one.